Hello, did you know that the matter not only has three states, or that every change in matter has a different name? We are answering this and more today.
So today we're going to show you different ways to change from one state to another. Before we start, we will show you some basic information you need to know. Matter is everything that has mass, which means that it has atoms and it uses space, while matter is everything we can hold, taste, or smell.
Experiment 1. This is a bottle of water of 100 milliliters. The water of this bottle is on a liquid state. So now we're going to show you how to change it into three different states: liquid, solid, and gas. We must remember that this is a pure substance and a compound of elements, hydrogen and oxygen. These changes will be physical and intensive because although the texture, temperature, and shape change, it is still water and its components are the same.
Now the bottle of water is in a solid state, and I'm going to wait so it turns into a liquid state. As you can see, right now the water is melting, which means that it is on the melting point. The molecules start to separate from each other and they are moving a little bit faster. But also this is an endothermic reaction because the water is absorbing the heat energy. After a couple of hours, the bottle of water is completely melted. So now I'm going to change it into a gas state. To change it into a gas state, I'm going to put all the bottle of water here. And now I'm going to use this. So you can see the water is on the boiling point, which means that it's on a liquid gas state, and the molecules are going a lot more faster and they are separating from each other. Also, this is going to be an endothermic reaction again. Now we can see the gas going out, which means that it's on a gas state. The water is evaporating, and also we can see some bubbles, which means that the water absorbs a lot of heat energy. What happens here is that the kinetic energy causes the hydrogen bonds to break completely, and it allows the water molecules to escape into the air as gas. Something interesting here is that the water on this is an example of condensation, because the gas is changing into a liquid state.
Experiment 2. We also have deodorant in spray. We're going to see what happens if we let it out and we put a lighter under the spray. This will be a chemical change because there's going to be flammability. That will be a homogeneous mixture because we can see the difference between the compounds. Hello. So about the deodorant experiment, here I have a deodorant and a lighter. That's all you need for this experiment. If you look so close to the deodorant bottle, here it will have a fire sign that it says danger. That means that it's a flammable liquid, which will be the cause of the following experiment. For doing this experiment, you need to put the lighter like this and then the deodorant and spray it. This is what happens. That was a chemical reaction, and if you're going to try this experiment at home, try to do it in an open place and not in small places because it can be dangerous. And be careful. I hope you enjoy this experiment.
Experiment 3. We're going to do crepes, which is an homogeneous mixture because when you mix it well, you can't see any difference between the ingredients. That will have a chemical reaction when we cook it because the substance is permanently changed. This is what changes it into a chemical change. While making the mixture for the crepes, we have to sift the flour. That will be a physical method of separation.
The mirror's image, it tells me it's home time, but I'm not finished, 'cause you're not by my side. again, I was just dreaming of bumping into you. Now it's
Experiment 4. Now I am showing you one of the simplest chemical methods of separation, sedimentation. Sedimentation is the process of separating small particles and sediments in water. This process happens naturally when water is still because gravity will pull the heavier sediments down to form a sludge layer. For this, we're using water with chia. We'll just wait some minutes and the chia that was floating in the water now is at the bottom of the glass.
Finally, we have a bottle with Coke and some mints. So we are going to throw them into the Coke and then see what happens. That will cause a chemical change because it had a reaction with the Coke. We will also see the gas bubbles, which will turn the mixture that was homogeneous to heterogeneous.
Now, this is the hair experiment, and we are going to cut our hair. That is a physical change.
Sí, lo tengo en sí.
Sí,
Pero casi todos los que he hecho, pues sí son
Pero poquito.
sí son como copias. O sea, el que
¡Ay, no
está acá
manches!
Es de Picasso.
No te vuelvo a hacer
el que está
caso.
allá Es el del grito de Edward.
This was a physical change.
Y luego pues está el de son. Ay,
Because it is the same hair, it's still hair. So that was a physical
Pero en
change.
realidad, pues, así que digas tú, ay, es que me encanta este. Pues,
Mamá.
me gustan todos.
Bueno, fue poquito, ¿verdad? This was too a physical change. Because we cut our hair, but it's still hair, so it's a physical change.
With this experiment, we saw different types of phase changes. Melting when the water changed from solid to liquid, freezing because at the beginning the water was frozen since it was on the fridge all night, and during the night that was when the phase change happened. Evaporation when I put the water to boil and the water began to come out as gas. And the last example of phase change was when we saw condensation. As I mentioned before, the drops on the lid of the pan change from gas to liquid. This experiment shows you how easy it is to change from one state to another, and you don't need any chemicals like fire, because these changes are physical and intensive, because it doesn't depend on the amount of water. Even a small drop of water can change from liquid to solid, or solid to gas, or gas to liquid, or liquid to gas. Something that you should consider is that these changes can take from minutes to hours. It all depends on the temperature.
This experiment made me learn about the danger of chemical changes, and that many of them can be dangerous, and we need to be careful. Also, I am glad that I saw a reaction, because it was very interesting and I like it pretty much. I felt excited about doing the experiment, and it completed my expectations.
My conclusion on experiment 3 is it's kind of confusing when talking about chemical and physical changes relation with food, because when talking about physical changes we say that changing from one state to another is a physical change, and when cooking not all but many foods, in this case mixture for crepes, changes from liquid to a soft solid. So could we consider this a physical change? No, because cooking changes its composition. That's why it has a different flavor, color, temperature, and texture. And these are all characteristics of when a chemical change occurs. Also, when we talk about the homogeneous mixture, it's kind of complex because if it has a minimum bubble, lump, or yolk that wasn't mixed well, it passes from being an homogeneous mixture to being an heterogeneous mixture. Although chia wasn't the perfect representation, it seems not only I learned something a part of the experiment. We reused the water with chia to make lemonade, and my mom was always mixing the chia because it would get all together and make a big bowl. So now we also a part of the information we gained and already explained in the experiment, we learned we have to make the chia stand in water before using it to make lemonade.
Conclusion. Doing this tutorial served me as a study guide for my exams of this subject and my final exam. I really liked preparing it and my team since I had fun doing it. The experiments were very interesting despite the fact that some had already done them in past years. The only thing that I will change will be the speed since there were times that we lost the focus of the subject. What happened with my experiment, which was the Coke with mints, was that the Coke having gas and the mints when falling made a chemical reaction which caused Coke to explode. I find it very interesting to search and understand what happened with physical and chemical change, since sometimes we had no idea how those those acts happen. I was amazed by the subject since I am a curious person and I enjoy doing experiments.
About the hair experiment, I was afraid of getting a bad haircut and ruin my hair, but then I saw that it wasn't that bad and I enjoyed this experiment. But anyways, it was a physical change and it will grow every time I cut it. And I enjoy that it was a physical change because it's reversible and it will be still the same.